Hey everyone, Effie here. I'm back with another video created with our new Loose Tulips stamp set. I'll be heat embossing all of the images with our rose gold embossing powder. So I just kept the stamps on the acetate sheets and I inked everything up at the same time with my embossing ink, and I just basically applied my watercolor paper directly onto the stamp sheet, and I used my speedball band to help me get a nice crisp impression. And then I hit the whole thing with my heat gun, and now let's get started with some watercoloring. I'm using color bursts today, surprise, surprise. I'm using Peony Pink, Lemon Yellow, Sap Green, and Terre Vert for all of the images. And I'm using a couple of Pentel Aqua brushes to help me paint today. So I started off by wetting the area that I want to paint first with some clean water. You want to make sure that you don't put too much water. If the water is rolling off your paper, that's when you know you've added too much. You kind of just want a slight sheen of water, just enough for the pigment to start moving around. But if you've applied too much water, all you need to do is take a clean paper towel and just kind of mop up that excess water. I start off by applying one layer of peony color burst to my tulips. While that pink paint is still wet, I'm going to add my lemon yellow to the centers of my tulips and kind of just drag the yellow up a bit so that it blends into the pink. Then I'm going to go back in with my peony color burst and just add a little bit more of that pigment into, I guess, the corners of my petals to add a bit of shading. And I'm going to apply this technique to all of my tulips. You can always go back and rework an area since we are using watercolor paints. It's a fairly forgiving medium to work with. So after I finish painting my florals, I'm going to go ahead and paint my leaves, and I use the same technique. I wet the area first with clean water, and then I'm going to drop in paint. I start off by dropping in bits of lemon yellow, and then I go in with my sap green, and then I add Terre Vert, which is my darkest shade, to the bottom of my leaves. Each time I drop in bits of color, I just take a second water brush and I blend that color out a bit so that I get a nice smooth blend. Once my watercoloring is complete, I set the panel aside to dry completely, and then I'm going to die cut all of the images using the coordinating dies. Next, I'm going to stamp my Buildable wood grain in our brown layering inks. For my wood grain, today I'm using Found Topaz, Aspen Cocoa, and dark roast dye inks, and this is a great combination to get a nice warm, rich, buildable wood grain background. Prior to today, I have not used the three-line stamp that comes with this set. I added this additional element to the set so that you can make a more planked look to your wood grain, because this is just another option, another look that you can get with our buildable wood grain set, and I really wanted that rustic look for my card today. Our layered buildable wood grain also comes with all of these small elements that you can stamp individually to build a more richer looking wood grain background. Next, I took the largest die from our double stitch rectangle set to add stitching to the edges of my panel, and then I took the third largest die to add a die cut window to my wood grain panel. This die set is a great collection to have in your stash because it adds dual stitching lines to both the inside and outside pieces of whatever you're cutting. So after I finished die cutting my wood grain panel, I just adhered that middle section directly onto my card base, and then I popped up the border panel with some dimensional foam tape. And now I'm just going to adhere down some blue long feathers directly onto that wood grain border using liquid adhesive, and then I'm going to start assembling my tulips. I use a combination of liquid adhesive and pop-up dots to adhere everything down. Our loose tulips, as well as the rest of our loose floral collections in our entire collection, they're really great and versatile sets to have because you can create your own custom bouquet. And I really love that I can combine my tulip bouquet with these beautiful bright feathers. One tip in using feathers in your projects, if you find that they're a little harder to manage because of the thin stems, you can just add some tape to add bulk at the end of your stem and then just add adhesive onto that taped end. Next, I stamped the sentiment from our Sweet Folk Hummingbird set in our Hampton white pigment ink onto some black cardstock and then just popped that up right at the base of my project. My card is now complete. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you'll stop by the blog and hop along on the mini hop to celebrate our 3rd anniversary. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.